Okay, my name is Don Weber, and my hip started to bother me about 1.5 years ago, and I got to the point where I was barely able to walk a block or have to sit down because there was so much pain. The only time I was in no pain at all was when I was sitting in a car, driving or sleeping. It was okay. And walking or standing, it was just incredibly painful. I had 2 cortisone shots. The second one helped a little bit, but when that wore off, I was back to square one again. And I heard about Dr. Barrett's name from another fellow worker at Boeing, and I called and I got an interview with Dr. Barrett, and he told me I had bone on bone in my hip. If you're active when you're 17 years old and you play football when you're 19, there's nothing that's going to go wrong with you except, muscles. And what causes this, I don't know, because my left hip is fine. My left hip has no problems at all. But my right hip ran out of cartilage somewhere along the way. I've always been active. I've always been in sports, and you just don't know. I had a friend who had posterior hip surgery, and when he was recovering, he was telling me about it, and it was such a nightmare. I thought, my hip's really going to have to hurt me a lot worse than this to have that done.
So this being different, this was the anterior approach. So how was that different for you in your experience?
Well, when I heard about the anterior approach, I'm a pilot, and also so I'm a detailed person. And so what I did when I heard about it is I went on YouTube and I started looking at YouTube, and I just put anterior hip surgery, and you can actually watch Mary Lou Retton have anterior hip surgery, or anybody else, and they actually have the actual operation on there. They show you exactly what's going on, and they compare it to posterior. So by the time I got in here, I was well aware of anterior versus posterior. Anterior, there's no major muscles cut, there's no tendons cut, it's all soft tissue moved aside, all done with a finger, so they don't come in through your buttocks muscle anymore. And it seemed to me to be pretty simple maneuver, and I had watched the operation, and it was actually not bloody or anything. It was pretty simple. And there's another article on YouTube about another pilot who went to work the 3rd week after his surgery, and I thought, I could probably do that too. So I was comfortable with that. And then I had gone to a lecture here given by Dr. Barrett, and when he actually shows you what's going on and how he does it, he actually does the operation with fake bones, of course. So I was well aware of what was going to happen, and I knew there was a thing called the HANA table, which the hospital has to have. I knew there was only 30% of the doctors in the United States can do this, and so I had done research on every possible aspect of it, including Dr. Barrett, and I was well convinced that and I had met him personally. And he was really a nice person. He made you feel comfortable, and so it was great. I was actually looking forward to it.
It sounds like you did a lot of research, and that's important.
I did a lot of research. The whole experience. I mean, when I went into surgery, my wife goes with me everywhere, and it was totally. I want to say from the first day I walked in here, I had zero pain. Not one thing that was done to me in this hospital caused me any pain at all. It was nothing. It was nothing. So I went in and did the pre-op stuff, and Dr. Barrett came in, and the anesthesiologist came in, and I knew I said, before you put me out, I'd like to just look at the HANA table. Well, they have 2 of them here, believe it or not. They're $800,000 each. So it's not amazing that other places don't do this.
Expensive.
Yeah. So when I went in there, they showed me all this, and he said, we're going to do a spinal, and I said, okay. And I set up, and he rubbed he said, it's going to be ice cold on your back. Ice cold. I said, okay. And it was ice cold on my back. And the next thing I knew, I was recovering. Wow. I don't remember anything. It was amazing. They showed me the HANA table, and that was it. The hardest part of recovery was interesting because I felt great, and because you don't have a complete general anesthetic, you're not goofy. I mean, you're not sick at the stomach. You're nothing. It's like you'd waken up from a night's sleep. So they asked me in recovery, can you move your feet? And I said, okay, sure. My brain said move, and my feet didn't do anything. She says, can you wiggle your toes? And they wouldn't wiggle for an inch. Well, after about 45 minutes, the tingling comes back, and you're back to normal. So,
yeah.
So then I ended up back in the room, and I had a liquid diet. The only thing I really wanted was a cup of coffee because I hadn't had any coffee all day. So I had my coffee, and I ate the Jell-O, and I drank the apple juice, and no problems. And so about, gee whiz, I don't know, less than 3 hours later, this gal comes in and says, ready to go for a walk. I said, yeah. So they
3 hours after surgery.
Yeah, so they put a red band around you to hold you up, and they gave me a walker, and I stood up with a walker, And she said, "Are you dizzy?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Can you put weight on your leg?" And I said, "I tried." And I said, "Yeah." Felt like my hip had always felt, and it felt perfect. Went for a walk, and I was supposed to walk 50 feet. I walked over 85 feet that morning. I started to cry. She says, "Are you in pain?" I said, "No." "That's why I'm crying. I'm in no pain. I have zero pain." I said it was the most amazing thing I'd ever, because I couldn't walk 10 feet before. The only thing I had was the muscle between your knee and your hip was very sore, like somebody had hit you with a sledgehammer, which Jenna later told me. That's part of the HANA table is they put you on your back. You know what it looks like?
Yeah. Well,
and it has two boots on it, and they put your feet in these boots. So your leg length can never change in anterior hip surgery, where in posterior it's a problem because you're on your side. So they guarantee your leg lengths are going to be the same, but the way they make this all fit is they stretch this muscle. And so she told me, she said, "That's why it hurts, because you stretch it." Well, that lasted about 6 days, and it went away.
Wow.
But I wasn't, they gave me pain pills in the hospital, but I wasn't in any pain.
Didn't need them.
I didn't need any, I haven't taken any, well, when I got out of the hospital, they told me I could go home the second day, but my wife had seen well, first of all, the end of the first day, they told me I could eat anything. So they give you a 4-page menu. You've seen the menu here. So I ordered something. Well, she's looking at that food, and she's going, "My God." So she went down to the cafeteria and bought 2 meal tickets for the next day for lunch and dinner.
For herself.
For herself. So she could eat in the room with me. And then they told me I could go home. She says, "You're not going home." She says, "I'm eating dinner tomorrow night with you." So the second day, I went for a walk also, and I was unlimited. I could walk anywhere I wanted. I walked over 200 feet or something. Climbed up and down stairs with a cane, no problems, just like I'd always done. So they said, "Okay, you can go anywhere you want on the first floor, I guess it was, anywhere you want, just walk around." I said, "Okay," so I just walked all day. It was wonderful. So when I finally left here, they gave me a wheelchair, and I said, "I walked in here, I can walk out here." And I walked out of the hospital. Got in the car, got home, went with a walker into the house. I climbed up the stairs with a cane, no problems at all. When I got upstairs, the walker stayed downstairs, the cane stayed up there. I never touched either one again. That was the third day.
Amazing.
Third day.
Wow.
Walked all around, everywhere.
How many weeks out are you from your surgery now?
Well, I had it November 4th.
November 4th, so.
Yeah, and started the third week, I went back to work.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So you're about in the 6th week now, so it really hasn't been that long.
I just had, last week, Dr. Barrett had me come in, and he looked at everything, and he said, usually I have people come back in 6 months. He said, "You come back in a year." That was it.
It's that good.
It was that good, yeah.
Fabulous.
And I go to a chiropractor, and he couldn't believe it. He looked at the x-rays, because it was the other thing. He said, "When you go in for your 6-week check, have them do an x-ray of you standing up." And I thought, yeah, they're going to do this for you, right? So they did. They put it on a disc, and they gave it to him.
That's great.
Yeah, and I wrote in the report when I left here, I said, this was more like a visit to a country club than a hospital. I absolutely had zero pain. Not one thing they did or hurt. Nothing.
Good.
I've been to the dentist worse than this.
Yeah. Oh.
So I get some guy calls me up and he says, I've had hip surgery was just terrible. And I said, "What did you have?" And he says, "Posterior." I said, "Well, there you go."
It's the difference.
There's a go. And my friend who had it, he went to the doctor, and the doctor says, "I need to operate on your hip." And he says, "Well, okay, how are you?" He says, "What are you doing at 8:30 tomorrow morning?" That's bad news. Because you know what it is, it's posterior hip surgery. And so when he was working 6 weeks later, he was still on a walker. When I went back to work to start the third week, everybody says, "Where's your walker? Where's your cane?" I
don't know.
The other thing about anterior versus posterior, you have no restriction on how you can move your leg. Posterior, there's an angle problem. Your lower part of your leg is over 90 degrees or something. Crossing your leg, you can't do that because you'll pop your hip out. I can take this leg and wrap it around my head now, and I couldn't even cut my toes. I couldn't put socks on this leg.
Wow.
And now it's no problem.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It's the best experience I've ever been through in my life.
I love hearing stories like that.
Yeah, it was great.
That's fantastic.
It was great.